Washington, this is VOA News. I'm Ray Kouguell reporting. More U.S. help for Iraq could be coming. The chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff says the United States is considering creating more train and advise hubs for Iraqi troops, even as it prepares to open a new base in Anbar province with 450 military personnel. General Martin Dempsey says examination of other sites beyond the new one near Ramadi, the provincial capital overrun by Islamic State insurgents last month, is just part of prudent planning. Leaders of Nigeria and four of its neighbors met Thursday to discuss a proposed joint force to fight Islamist extremist group Boko Haram. VOA's Stein reports.
The summit on Thursday in Nigeria's capital Abuja, with neighboring heads of state along with defense and military officials, was seen as a way for Nigeria and its neighbors to decide how best to deploy a task force of troops against the group. Previous efforts at regional cooperation have been hit and miss. At the summit, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari made it clear that he wants a Nigerian commander in charge of the task force, rather than a rotating command. The heads of state of Chad, Niger, and Benin attended the summit. Cameroon's defense minister also attended. Stein, Dakar.
Chinese state media say former security chief Zhou Yongkang was sentenced to life in prison for corruption, making him the most powerful official to be brought down by the Communist Party's anti-graft campaign. The official Xinhua news agency said Thursday that Zhou admitted guilt and will not appeal the ruling, which was made during a secret closed-door trial in the northeastern city of Tianjin. Zhou was formally charged last month with bribery. He also was charged with abuse of power and disclosing state secrets. This is VOA News. Swiss and Austrian authorities are investigating whether sophisticated cyber attacks have been launched to spy inside the negotiations 6 world powers are conducting with Iran over its nuclear program. Authorities say they are looking for malware that might have been used to monitor the talks that have been conducted at several hotels in Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is calling for a swift agreement among political parties to form a coalition government. It comes in the wake of the worst-ever electoral setback for Turkey's former ruling party, the AKP. Dorian Jones has details.
In his first televised speech since Sunday's election, President Erdogan urged all 4 parties represented in parliament not to leave the country in limbo and work quickly to form a new government. The election deprived the AKP of its parliamentary majority, thereby derailing Mr. Erdogan's plan to change the constitution in order to extend his grip on power. Meanwhile, AKP leader Ahmet Davutoğlu announced the party is dropping its bid to create an executive presidency, saying the electorate had given its verdict. Mr. Davutoğlu resigned as the country's prime minister Tuesday in a procedural move that will leave him in the post until a new government is formed. Dorian Jones, Istanbul.
An Egyptian court convicted a police officer of killing a female protester in Cairo earlier this year. The officer was sentenced to 15 years in prison. The demonstrator was shot in January as she walked toward Cairo's Tahrir Square to honor protesters killed in the uprising that ousted Hosni Mubarak in 2011. 2 Pakistani-American brothers were sentenced to long prison terms Thursday for a bomb plot to attack New York City in 2012. 22-year-old Rais Kazi and 32-year-old Shahryar Kazi were sentenced to 35 years and 20 years respectively by a court in the southern state of Florida. Authorities say the alleged plot never got beyond the planning stage. European leaders are urging Greece to find a new way to avoid defaulting on its loans. European Union President Donald Tusk says a meeting scheduled for next week in Luxembourg will be crucial in determining whether Greece's creditors will release an $8 billion bailout in time for Greece to make a payment to the International Monetary Fund by the end of June.
We need decisions, not negotiations now. And it's my opinion that Greek government has to be, I think, a little bit more realistic.
Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras acknowledged that differences remain with the country's creditors. Without a deal, Greece could be forced out of the Eurozone, abandoning its use of the common euro currency. And the United States became the world's largest oil producer in 2014, according to a report by the BP Energy Company. British petroleum economist Spencer Dale credits the shale revolution for a surge in American oil production. I'm Ray Kouguell in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.